Welcome back. This week, our presentations are going to be much more practical in relation to your day-to-day experience as teachers or administrators. This first presentation is going to be about the research base for assessment. Think of assessment as the key to understanding what our students know and be able to do. The second part of this is creating tests to make certain that you are assessing what it is you wanted students to know. Take a minute and read the montellation of Traxeline. When you are done, I'd like you to answer the questions at the end of the paragraph. My guess is that you answered all the questions correct about the montellation of Traxeline. But did you learn anything? Were those questions designed so that I knew you really understood what Traxeline is and what it's about? This activity is important for us to consider when we learn about assessment and creating assessments. You as a teacher can create a test, but does the assessment provide us insight into what the student learned? Remember, you just got 100% probably on the last quiz you took about Traxeline. And does the student deepen their learning from taking the test or from the feedback that's given? Or do they get a number that doesn't mean anything to them? Assessment should tell us a lot more. So let's consider what research has to say on the subject. Richard Stiggins is a well-known researcher in the area of assessment. And here are some ideas that he has brought forth about assessment. Effective schools engage in a wide variety of assessment. And testing is only a single phase of that. The goal is to increase student understanding having taken an assessment. And student progress should be frequently monitored, and constant, consistent feedback is essential. He continues to share that assessment is the distinguishing factor between teaching and learning. I can teach all I want, but does learning result? Assessment should increase student performance when used effectively. Performance-based assessments can deepen students' understanding of a concept, and balanced assessment is absolutely necessary so that we have a broader and more complete understanding of a student's knowledge, skills, and performance. If we look at assessments as three different levels of assessment, the first type are tests like WKCE or the new Smarter Balanced Assessment or the PARCC assessment, advanced placement tests, SAT, PSAT. These are all high-stakes tests. They're very public, and they provide system data to a school or a school district. Level 2 data would include things like district common assessments, benchmark assessments, universal screeners. They are performance-based, aligned to standards. They have scoring guides that help us understand student achievement. The last is type 3, and those are like classroom assessments. The purpose matches the type of assessment. They too are aligned to standards. Wide variety of types of assessments provide multiple measurements, and they provide student and class data. These are much closer to the everyday student learning. Level 3 questions, the results come back quickly. Level 2 may take a little bit longer, and Level 1 generally take much longer for us to receive the results after the student has tested. We can also classify assessments as traditional or performance-based. Traditional assessment generally focus on assessing students' knowledge and skills. These could be teacher-made tests, textbook tests, etc. A performance-based assessment focuses more on standards, the application of knowledge, and the transfer of knowledge from one setting to another. These can be tasks. There's generally a set of criteria, and they are also measured by rubrics. Assessment should be revolving around a set of standards. Our state standards, the Common Core state standards, are not only the standards for the state of Wisconsin, but for many other states in the United States. These standards have multiple levels to them. There are knowledge, there's skills, there's levels of performance, there may require products, or the application of knowledge. Assessment is a demonstration of understanding of all of those skill sets. The assessment design process can be narrowed down to two simple questions. What is it that students should know and understand? And more importantly, what is the evidence of that understanding? One of the greatest errors we make in education is not creating an assessment that will actually measure what it is we want students to know and understand. As we continue to design or think about designing assessments, we need to be able to also answer the question of how the assessment can be designed to promote student learning and success. We named this course Assessment for Learning. This is very critical. Tests should not be the end of the learning process. It should be part of the learning process. What is important is that we clearly identify and articulate the targets which we are teaching toward and use those to create our assessments. Assessment should reflect items that will understand both the understanding, the comprehension of information, but also the application of knowledge. And targets should be clear both to the teacher and to the student at the onset of the lesson. We've all experienced the gotcha test somewhere along the way, where we looked at the paper and realized that we had never been learning these things. And that was because the standards or the targets were not clear at the onset. An assessment should be closely aligned to the targets in the class. Grant Wiggins of the Understanding by Design model made this statement: assessment should promote learning, not simply measure it. How many times in our history have we gotten an assessment back and didn't even look at it? It was over, it was done, we either did well or we did poorly, but it was over. We cannot be doing that in our classrooms. Our assessment should go back to students, and students should eagerly look at the assessment, at the feedback, and use it as part of their learning. They'll only do that if we make it part of their learning.